Greetings, YouTube. This is going to be a bit of a rant. It is related to industrialization and how things work on an industrialized scale. So if you have an interest in that kind of thing, you might want to stick around. But it is going to be a bit of a rant, so be aware of that. I don't know how many of you have ever worked in any branch of business that involved inventory. Particularly in the branches that are like inventory control. Most of us probably work at the end where we just access inventory, and we are not, we're not involved in the process of making sure inventory is coming in at the right time and going out at the right time. And for the most part, I am at the lower end, just like you are. The inventory comes in, and it lands in front of me, and I use it in my job, and then it becomes finished goods for me, and then it becomes someone else's inventory problem. But there are people whose jobs it is to make sure that you get what you need, and then that goes on to the people who get what they need. That's how the inventory system functions, in theory. Now, I can remember a long time ago, before the concept of just-in-time ever evolved. And I can remember when it was talked about as being this brilliant Japanese concept that was going to revolutionize all of industry from the ground up. I can even remember seeing commercials on television for shipping companies. It might have been UPS, I'm not positive, about how small businesses, working, just these little tiny mom and pop style things, getting stuff in the day before they need them or the day they need them, and then selling them. So they didn't have to have a large stock in place. Because remember that inventory is money. So if you have a bunch of stock on your shelves, that's money. All those books back there, that's money. It's my money. I chose to put it there. I'm not in the business of selling things. I chose to put my money into the form of paper and put it on my shelf because it makes me happy. If it ever makes me not happy, I'll get rid of it. That hasn't happened yet. As well as you see the plastic back there. There's little figures and stuff. It's all things that make me happy, make me smile. I like looking at them. So that's what inventory is. It's money. And it occurred to somebody that if you had inventory flowing into your plant at exactly the proper speed, you wouldn't have to have a large stock of it. It would come in, you'd use it, and it would go away. And so you wouldn't be tying up your capital in inventory, in 1,000 widgets sitting on a shelf when you need, 120 a day. But you're buying them in 1,000 widget lots because that's what the company you're buying them, your provider, your provider is selling them in 1,000 widget lots. So you're using them 120 days, and every 8 days or so, you're getting a new order of widgets coming in. Well, someone's like, well, why the hell do we do that? Why can't we just order them in like 130 widgets? Why isn't the transport system robust enough for us to get 130 or 120 widgets every day when we need 120 widgets every day? And thus was born the just-in-time concept. You only get what you need, you use it, and ship it on. Now, you need to put a fudge factor in there because sometimes you get widgets that are no good. Before you ever touch them, they're failed. You had nothing to do with this. And sometimes widgets get damaged or destroyed in the process of making whatever you're using the widgets for. So there does have to be a certain fudge factor in there, okay? But it can be pretty narrow, particularly if you have a good crew and you know what your reject rates are, and tracking that kind of thing is another rant video. Okay, we'll get to that one someday. The problem, of course, to this whole thing, it's a theoretical idea. That's why I said just in time when I first introduced that term. Because here's the reality. If you don't get those widgets in when you need them, you come to a grinding halt and you don't make your shipments. And then your customer is very angry. Now, there are times when you can't make a shipment because there are things beyond your control. For example, you get a power outage and there's no power in the building. We had that happen recently. You can't make widgets when there's no power. Or the machinery that you need just blows up. We've had things like that happen. Or there's a pandemic. So there are things that are well beyond your control that you can't control, can't do anything about. But it's hard to explain to a customer who's waiting for their widgets why you haven't shipped your widgets because you're waiting for somebody else's widgets. Because they see that as a failure on your part. Because remember, they've bought into the bullshit that is just in time just as much as the people at your company have bought into the bullshit that is just in time. See, I remember, I'm on the user end. I'm the guy that gets the stuff in so I can process it and then pass it on to the consumer. And I have lost track of how many times I have had to shut a press down at my company because I didn't have rubber or inserts, or maybe they're plastic, aluminum, or steel. Or how many times I couldn't ship because I didn't have cardboard trays, cardboard boxes, plastic bags, plastic clips to put in the parts that have been made and are now piling up on the floor in boxes instead of being put into finished goods so I can ship them. Little plastic clips. Didn't have them. And I've lost track of how many times this happens. When I go to the inventory control system at work and I program where in the building I work and I say, okay, I need 4 reels of this particular rubber, please. Send it to me. I make a request. And then I come back a couple hours later because I haven't got it and I'm confused. And I look at the open order section and the open order section says, oh, we're out of that. So then I have to play the scramble game. When I have to start going from area to areas within my building and begging for rubber from my coworkers because I need more to get me through the shift because the 1 o'clock truck isn't here at 5 and it's 5 a.m. That kind of thing happens all the goddamn time in business. My company is not unique in this. The just-in-time system is a great idea. I have never seen it properly implemented. Maybe it works in Japan. I don't know. But I have a hard time believing that it actually works where the rubber meets the road in Japan any better than it does here in the United States where the rubber meets the road. But it's a great idea. Just because someone has a great idea doesn't mean it's practical. But it's a great idea in the eyes and the ears and the minds of managers. Because it means that you don't have stuff on the shelves. You don't take up space, which is money, and you don't take up capital tied up in stock, which is money. And they love that. So yeah, it baffles me why they think it works, because I've seen it not work way more times than I've seen it work. So what's your experience in just-in-time? Are you one of those little mom and pop stores that bought into it, and now that your location's too small to keep the inventory you need to do your jobs, that you don't have a buffer, that sometimes you have to tell your consumer, sorry, we're out of that? How many times have you had to tell someone that? How many times have you heard that at a grocery store or a department store or any place else? I'm sorry, we're out of that. Well, why are you out of that? Obviously, there is a consumer for the product, so shouldn't you have enough of the thing to sell them? So yes, it's frustrating for everybody. And that's why this is a rant. It's a pet peeve. I don't like the just-in-time system. I've seen it fail more often than it succeeds. And I would really love if the people in charge of this stuff would kind of throw that idea into the waste bin of history where it belongs.